To conclude today's episode, we now turn on to the theme, the highlights from Talkback. We continue now with our theme of highlights from Talkback. This is installment 29. In our last installment 28, we talked about the screen search gesture. Today, however, I'll be talking about the Talkback voice commands. For today's demonstration, I will be using my old Pixel 4 running Android 12 and Talkback 12.1. For speech services, I am once again employing the Google Speech Services, thus keeping things googly. I am on my home screen and will now navigate to the Talkback menu. I will use the drawing of a line downward and curving to the right to invoke the Talkback menu.
Talkback menu.
Here I am in the Talkback menu. I will now find and tap on Talkback Settings.
Talkback settings, in list.
Let's go ahead and tap on Talkback Settings.
Talkback settings. Navigate up, button, out of list.
By now you should be familiar that every time I'm doing these entries that we actually scroll down the page and go tap on the Customize Gestures. If this is your first time, I will now put 2 fingers in the middle of the phone and then glide those fingers upwards and find and tap on Customize Gestures. I will now put those 2 fingers down, glide them upward, and that gesture scrolls down the page.
Showing items 3 to 14 of 14.
Now I will find and tap on Customize Gestures.
Customize gestures.
Here is our Customize Gestures, and we go ahead and tap here.
Customize gestures. Navigate up, button, out of list.
We are now on the customization page of the gestures, and what I will do now is to change my granularity to the headings granularity. I will do that by swiping up and down with 1 finger. In other words, I'm doing a scrubbing movement with 1 finger until I hear it says headings. You can also use 3 fingers and swipe downwards or from left to right or right to left to change your granularity. I simply prefer the up-down scrubbing movement with 1 finger. So I will now go ahead and do that and change my granularity. What I'm looking for is the headings.
Controls. Headings.
Here is my headings. Now that I have found the headings granularity, I will swipe down with 1 finger and keep doing so until I get to the heading that says 1 finger angle. Here I go.
1 finger, heading, in list.
That's the 1 finger heading.
1 finger back and forth, heading.
Keep going.
1 finger angle, heading.
1 finger angle heading, and that's the heading that we're after. As I said at the beginning of the recording, we will be looking at the Talkback voice command. I will now move my focus to the Talkback voice command gesture, and that gesture has to do with swiping right then upwards. In other words, you'll swipe right and then curve upward, and that invokes the Talkback voice command gesture. I will now go ahead and invoke that gesture, and then we'll look at what it can do. It does give you hints as to what you can use the gesture for. I will now swipe right, then curve upwards to invoke that gesture.
Use voice commands to control Talkback.
We hear it say use voice commands to control Talkback. Below that, though, are some suggestions as to what we can use it for. Here is what that is saying.
Here are some things you can say. Copy. Read from next item. Find, save. Speak faster. Talkback settings. Say, help, for a list of all voice commands.
So in other words, you can use any of those voice commands: copy, save, speak faster, open settings, and things like that. The reason why we're having this dialogue is because I haven't turned off the checkbox that says, do not show this again next time.
Checked. Always show this message. Checkbox.
And therefore, because it is checked every time that I invoke this command, this dialog will come up. Now, below that, we have
Use voice commands button.
Use Voice Commands. Now, if I tap here, it will make a chime, and all I need to say is give it the command that I want. If we have that checkbox unchecked, however, this dialog will not show, and every time I do this gesture, it will simply chime, and all I need to do is to give it my command. I'll tap here and say something. Open Notifications.
Notification shade.
There is my notifications. It opens up my notifications. So you could use this, and by the way, as I've always said, you could change this. If doing this gesture is difficult for you, you could reassign it to something else and use that gesture. Now you know how to go about using your TalkBack voice commands. And this concludes installment 29, using the TalkBack voice commands.